Michael.
What?
Tell me about your
Okay,
project.
fine. Well, this is something very new. I mean, generally, when I send you a copy of my films, it's basically what we've been doing today. The stuff happens, I observe it, just like you. I film it for no particular purpose, and then it becomes a film. I have a film that you may be interested in called The Cleaners Wear Prada,
Great.
which is a film I shot in Milan and outside the Prada store in the whatever it is. And I was just kind of wandering around one morning at 9 o'clock, and there was a guy inside who was sweeping slowly and polishing. And I think he was Indian. And I just was fascinated by the kind of rather casualness with which he did it, and by the multitude of mirrored surfaces. So he mirrored stuff inside, and then the outside was mirrored through the glass windows. And then after about a minute and a half, I was getting a bit bored, and he was very suspicious of me. And then suddenly there was a reflection. There was an image, a reflected image, in the shop window of a guy in a white coat, and the guy in the Indian in the Prada store was wearing white. And so behind me there was this guy in white, and he came sort of forward, and I saw him kind of touch the window. And then suddenly, without moving the camera, he comes into view, he's the outside window cleaner.
Wow.
And whereas the inside window cleaner is a kind of amateur, the outside window cleaner is a real professional. And he does the outside windows with just immense care and patience. And then eventually he finishes and goes inside, and I carry on filming both of them, who by this time are very suspicious of me. So it's one continuous shot. It's a 9-minute film, and the only thing we've added is as a title, "The Cleaners Wear Prada." I probably didn't. There's actually, almost every shot has the Prada logo in it. And it has these beautiful elongated shoes. So it's very much a Prada film, and I thought of maybe sending it to the Prada Foundation and sort of getting whatever. So that's what I do. So generally there's very little editing, very little post-production. But I met recently a French actress, mime, contortionist.
Wow.
Very beautiful 25-year-old contortionist called Raphael Boitel. Now, Raphael I'd known like years ago. Do you know the Cirque Imaginaire? Victoria Chaplin
Well, I know of
and
it.
Jean-Baptiste Thierry. So Victoria's one of Charlie Chaplin's daughter, married to.
I think I met her.
Yeah,
She has
married to
blonde hair,
yeah.
right?
Possibly.
Blonde hair.
No, long, and they have this kind of strange, miniaturized, exaggerated circus. Generally, just the two of them, and their kids. And I saw it first in 1979 at Riverside Studios in London. They've been all over the world, and I took my children, and they also had in the show their children.
Wow.
So James Thierry and Aurélie,
How many children do you
they're
have?
just the two children, and they were so small they would scuttle around in little suitcases with holes cut out for their arms and legs. So this is very much part of my upbringing of my kids.
How old
And
are
then
your kids?
my children are like 38 and 34. So this was the late 70s, early 80s. And then the two children, Victoria and Baptiste's two children, have gone on to develop the next generation of their work. So James Thierry does amazing work, which is part narrative, part circus, part performance art, part philosophical treatise or whatever, and the sister Aurélie does the same. Now, when I saw James's work, he had a partner who I assumed was his girlfriend called Raphael, and they've been kind of working together since she was like 13 or 14. The last time I saw her was in a sort of strange kind of club theatre in Brooklyn 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago. And she wrote to me just before Christmas saying, we've not talked to each other for a long time, she admired my work, etc., why don't we get together and maybe do a piece together. So she came to London recently, and I had an idea that this would be my first film that I've kind of organized. So it's not a narrative. I said basically what I would do, because this is what I saw her do in Brooklyn. I said I would film her doing her kind of rather spectacular contortionism, and I would just film a huge amount of footage in different lights, different spaces, different angles, and then see what we have. And out of that kind of vocabulary of images, we'd then start making a piece. Because she was talking about, doing a narrative piece, and I thought, that's not my style. In my music I do narratives, but the films take on a narrative, but it wouldn't be a theatre piece.
But then you do music too.
Yeah, then I would do music to it, but the music is sort of secondary. So she came to London and she showed me some photographs, which, if you check her site on Facebook, you can see. I'll send you. No, Raphael Wattel.
Okay.
Boitel. And no, she showed me some photographs, and she showed me photographs where she's kind of totally hidden in this kind of white dress, which has kind of triangular headpiece. So this body, which in the contortionism is kind of semi-naked, in this kind of dress is kind of totally covered. So I had this idea of her doing her contortionism inside, almost like a kind of hijab, but from a different tradition. And so that will be the material. And then when I saw this kind of triangular shape of this headdress, I showed her some photos that I'd taken in a Portuguese what are these churches called? Like monastery, the Portuguese monastery, where I'd gone to meet the organist because he wanted to commission a piece, and because I was a celebrity, they took me kind of backstage, and backstage they were renovating all the rooms, and they had a lot of kind of painted wooden statues from the 15th, 16th century, which were all covered in plastic sheets.
Wow, that looks great.
So I took these photographs whereby I tried to focus on the face behind the plastic sheets. So I was going through the plastic onto the face. And of course, the way that the plastic sheets were draped was almost kind of identical to her headdress. So I said, okay, I like you, I like your work, you like my work. We now have this common imagery. So I then thought I would do something where I might project my images on her against some other sort of projection. So that's where it is at the moment.